Hello everyone, my name is Arpitha Dhanapathi and I am a Principal Product Manager in Microsoft Purview organization. Today we're going to talk about how you as developers can safeguard the data across all of your apps and agents development cycle using Microsoft Purview. Let's get started. Let's start by setting the stage. There's a real and growing anxiety around generative AI in the enterprise and the data it backs up. Firstly, around 55% of leaders say that leakage of sensitive data is their top concern with AI. That's more than half the room worrying about their data ending up somewhere it shouldn't. And it's not just hypothetical. As AI apps and agents interact with more enterprise data, the attack surface grows. At the same time, 82% of our leaders expect to deploy agents in the next 12 to 18 months. So the adoption is not slowing down, it's accelerating. But most organizations don't have the visibility or controls to keep up. 80% of the leaders say that they lack a clear understanding of how AI regulations will play out across their industries. So the good news, organizations are taking action. 73% are already investing in AI-specific data security and compliance controls. The demand is there, and that's exactly where Purview comes in. The question now becomes, how do you move forward as developers with AI confidently without putting your data or compliance posture at risk? Let's look at how the specific data security concerns map to the developer challenges in this context. So what are the concerns? The range of data security concerns across your apps need to handle include potential leakage of sensitive data, knowingly or unknowingly by your users, data oversharing concerns, as well as AI solutions being used in a non-compliant fashion by your users. On the other hand, while you as developers, some of the decision makers in the developer land believe that they can handle some of these issues, they also worry that the work that they would be doing is not a comprehensive solution to address broader security challenges across the enterprise. Many of the developers have acknowledged that the need to compromise on security versus feature development is real, owing to the constraint in resources. So how do you address these challenges to unblock the adoption of AI apps? That brings us into the land of Microsoft Purview. For those who are familiar with and not familiar with, Microsoft Purview enables data security and compliance via enabling discovery of AI risks, protection of sensitive data against leaks, oversharing insider risks, and supporting governance of AI usage. So we've done something very peculiar when the age of AI started. We collaborated with a number of FSI, financial services industries customers, to deploy M365 Copilot, the very first Copilot that Microsoft came out with, in highly regulated environments. So we worked with these FSI customers and we identified and implemented a minimum standard for AI security, AI controls, that we refer to as FSI MinBar. Implementing this FSI MinBar unblocked the adoption of M365 Copilot across these large FSI companies. So now what happened? The top customers we have come to expect that this MinBar is a gold standard DSPM for AI, data security posture management for AI, whether it is Microsoft built AI or your custom built AI. Now, what does trust by default mean? And what role do you as developers play? Let's talk about how this is relevant to you as a developer, right? Purview is the layer of trust that can sit within the development stack in the AI. With Purview as a foundational layer, developers need to write up or worry about data governance, security, and compliance themselves. They do not need to worry about any of these aspects because all of these will be baked in as part of your Purview integration within your app development cycle. So what does that do? Data classification happens automatically. Access control is policy-driven. Audit logging is always on. And that's what we mean by integrated features. These are not add-ons on your configuration post-launching the apps and agents. So in terms of the developer experience, this means simplicity. Teams can stay focused on building great AI solutions. They don't need to become security experts or compliance specialists, especially the developers. Purview handles governance centrally so developers can do what they do the best, which is shipping great products. And this isn't just per app security. This is enterprise level. Think about it for a second. one policy framework that spans every AI application and agent that the organization builds and uses. That means accelerated development cycles because you're not reinventing governance for each project. It means stronger collaboration between development teams and security teams because they're working from the same playbook. And it means security that scales. As your AI ambitions grow, Purview grows with you. Let me show how this works in practice. Right? So there are two paths for you into trusted AI. And Purview meets you where you are with respect to these two paths. On one side, we have the Microsoft built AI, or Microsoft platforms on which you can build AI. If you're building on our Stack, Foundry, or Copilot Studio, you get a built-in experience with minimal overhead. Governance is centralized. Compliance controls are already wired up. You are essentially getting trust as part of the platform. And this is the fastest path to production-ready AI because the integration work is already done by us. On the other hand, if you have third-party AI and agents that you're building, maybe you're using open source models, maybe you're building with a different framework, or maybe you're building a multi-cloud AI application architecture. Or in fact, you're probably integrating AI into an existing application that has its own architecture. Purview supports all of these customer scenarios with flexible integration points and the ability to extend governance into workflows that live outside the Microsoft ecosystem. You don't have to choose between flexibility and trust. Whether you are all in on our platform or running a hybrid environment, Purview gives you a single governance layer across both. Now let's walk through these Purview-enabled AI scenarios and what it means for security teams in your organizations or the enterprise customers. Once we do that, we can then get back to looking at how you as developers can help achieve these outcomes for your customers, right? Starting with AI observability. Now I'm in the Purview portal. Let's see how the data security teams, your customers' DS teams, today experience controls to safeguard AI apps and agents used in their environments. As you can see here, within Purview portal, in DSPM, Data Security Posture Management, and AI Observability, teams can look at the inventory of AI apps and agents and corresponding insights. Right? Next, a data security admin can see all of the historic activities related to an app or agent and drill down further to investigate within the Activity Explorer of DSPM. For example, if there is a DLP rule match, data loss prevention rule match, or what sensitive data is being exchanged in the interactions, all of this information will be captured as part of the Activity Explorer as the admins dive deep into understanding the details of the apps or agents from AI observability. Next. Within the reports, admins can get into reports to see a high-level view of sensitive data that's being shared across different AI systems being used within their environment. What unethical interactions are happening with these systems, and if there are any risky users interacting with AI and how that is happening. So all of this being put together is what we call as DSPM, or Data Security Posture Management. And that's one pane of Purview. Next, getting into the multiple solutions within Purview that bring the real value of AI coming together. We're looking at IRM. What you're seeing on the screen is within IRM, there's a list of all the agents. IRM is the insider risk management solution within Purview. IRM can track and list risk for user-driven activity as well as agents-driven activity. Up until now, it was user-driven activity, and we have recently introduced also the agents-driven activity. So admins can get a view of all of, when an agent triggers a policy match, an IRM generates the alert and provides a full picture to the security team, just like how it used to do for a user-triggered policy match, user risk-triggered policy match. Let's drill into what such an alert would look like for an IRM admin. In this alert detail, you can see that specific agent involved, a user who has triggered that interaction, the risk severity, and critically, the sequence of activities that led to this alert. That includes what data the agent accessed, whether sensitive content was present in prompts or responses, and whether any DLP policies were matched. All of this context coming together in a single pane helps the data security teams to assess whether this is a real threat or a false positive. And from there, they can take the right action without any guesswork. Moving on, this is our compliance manager solution again within Purview. So within the compliance manager solution, the eval results that you're seeing, evaluation results from Azure AI Foundry, are automatically synced into Purview for the associated agents, and eval test status of the agents are updated as shown. Moving on to the communication compliance solution. Within communication compliance, as you can see, the data security admin can view all of the details of the interactions that the users are carrying out. So they can follow up appropriately and ensure that the folks interacting with AI within their organization meet the compliance requirements. With that, we've looked at all the existing value that Purview offers for AI. Let me talk about something very interesting and exciting. We are introducing real-time or inline data loss prevention for Foundry. And what does that mean? For an end user, AI built with Microsoft Foundry supports Purview enterprise-grade data security and compliance with the toggle of a button within the Foundry control plane. As part of the integration between Foundry and Purview, we are now introducing the support for inline or real-time data loss prevention for prompts. What does this mean? Security administrators can set up a DLP policy in Foundry within Purview to prevent end users interacting with Foundry-built AI from passing any sort of sensitive information into the LLMs. So as an admin, if I set up a DLP policy for Foundry in my Purview portal, I can trigger the policy when an end user passes or interacts with the LLMs with any sort of sensitive information, whether it is out-of-box sets that are part of Purview or custom-defined sets defined by the organization. And as Purview policy kicks in real time, that particular prompt is blocked from entering into the LLM or AI, thus preventing AI from learning on the sensitive information that belongs to the organization. And how do you achieve this? Let's look at that, right? So within the Foundry control plane, like I said, we have already introduced a Purview integration toggle. And once this particular toggle is enabled, Purview admins in the Purview portal can start setting up the DLP policies with respect to inline DLP for prompts. But that's not it. Once the toggle is enabled on the Foundry control plane, we're also starting to surface the insights. Foundry admins can now see relevant Foundry-specific high-level insights that are coming from Purview for that particular subscription. So for all the AI apps and agents built within that subscription, a Foundry admin, because of enabling the toggle, gets to see what that posture looks like. And this information is all non-PII. So a Foundry admin, because they may or may not necessarily be security admins, they do not get to see any sort of PII-related information, but at least get a glimpse or a bird's eye view of the insights that they should worry about or care about. So these non-PII insights are meant to help Foundry admins get a sneak peek of the data security posture in that subscription and help connect the loop between security and Foundry admins. Moving on, what I just showed you on Foundry is a toggle of a button that integrates Foundry and Purview. But there are multiple scenarios, of course, that you may not necessarily be building on top of Foundry. So if you are building AI apps and agents outside of the Microsoft ecosystem, let's look at how you can make these apps and agents Purview aware. Here I'm showing an example of a GenAI app architecture that uses RAG with custom LLMs and vector DVs, all of the architecture that you can think of, right? Keep in mind this framework. You can add any number of elements to this architecture, but the most important thing is you can integrate with Purview for your app and agent, either via APIs or through the SDK that we will talk about. And by introducing the APIs into your app code, you can enable the app to be Purview supported and enable these apps to support all of the value of Purview that we just walked through. But in case you don't want to use the APIs, there is also an SDK option. So Purview SDK is now directly integrated into the Microsoft Agent Framework SDK. And what this means is that developers can embed Purview compliance and data protection controls right into their agent runtime. The same enterprise-grade governance that protects copilots now extends to any custom agent that you build. Here's the key distinction on how you get these capabilities. If you are building AI on Foundry or Copilot Studio, like I said, these integrations are supported out of the box, the toggle that I showed you. For pro developers building custom AI with Agent Framework SDK, whether with LangChain, OpenAI, Semantic Kernel, or any other framework, you can add the Purview policy middleware to your agent's workflow pipeline. And that intercepts prompts and responses, interacting with the agents, and also enforces whatever policies your tenant security admins have configured in Purview for those for those agents and applications. A few lines of code that relates to Purview, and your agent inherits the full enterprise trust layer. We have some samples on GitHub in C#, Python, and Node.js to get you started. And let me show you what that looks like in practice. The few lines of code that I've copied here, 15 to 20 lines at max. If you're building an agent using Agent Framework SDK, adding these few lines of code will introduce Purview SDK as a middleware within your agent's code base, and that starts supporting the entire Purview value that we just walked through in this session until now. Just these few lines of code, Purview server starts getting triggered, prompts and responses are going to be passed to Purview, policy setup in Purview starts acting on these agents, and all of this action is taken care of by these few lines of code. Switching gears a little bit for now, we've looked at what cloud agents do and what all the applications that you're building on cloud can get support from Purview, Foundry, Purview SDK, etc. But at the same time, increasingly agents are running locally. Coding assistants in IDEs, automation on laptops, tools on endpoints your organization does not fully control. These can access files, credentials, and source code that never touch your cloud. Your existing governance does not reach them. That's the gap. So the agent landscape is now a mix of cloud and local, managed and unmanaged. Our commitment is that no matter where agents live, built, deployed, or discovered, Purview delivers the same visibility, protection, and risk control. Same framework extended everywhere. Let me show you how. Introducing the data security for local agents. And what does that mean? The same pillars that we look at for DSPM for AI in cloud applies the same here. And the pillars include discover, protect, and investigate. It all comes down to these three pillars. These map directly to the lifecycle of how you manage risk around local agents. So let's start with discover. The first challenge with local agents is simply knowing they exist. When agents are running on developer machines or endpoints outside your cloud environment, you need a way to inventory them, understand what they are, what data they're accessing, and what risk they might introduce. DSPM gives you that view of every agent in your environment, even the ones your security team didn't know about. Next is protect. And this is where it gets really interesting. We are bringing data loss prevention to the local agent layer. Think about what a local agent can access on a developer's machine. Source code, credentials, customer data, internal documents, and whatnot. So DLP ensures that sensitive data does not leak through agent interactions, whether that's through prompts, responses, or tool calls. The same DLP policies you already use for cloud agents now extend to local ones. No separate configuration, no gaps in coverage. How cool is that? And finally, investigate. You need the ability to investigate when something looks off. Maybe an agent is behaving in unexpected ways, or a user is trying to use a local agent to bypass controls. Insider risk management gives you the signals and the context to detect those patterns, correlate them with user behavior, and take action before a small issue becomes a serious incident. At Build, we are introducing these capabilities for managed agents with Claude Code and GitHub Copilot. Let me bring this all together with the three things I want you to walk away today. First, trust is built in, not bolted on. We started this talk by saying the hard part of AI is not building it, it's shipping it safely. And Purview supports that equation. Governance, security, and compliance are not things you wire up after the fact or scramble to add before a launch review. They are embedded in your development stack. That means every app, every agent, every workflow starts with trust as the default, not the exception. Second, one policy layer everywhere. We showed you how Purview works natively in Foundry, how it extends to custom apps and agents through the SDK, and how it now covers local agents running on developer machines and endpoints. The key insight is that you don't need different governance strategies for different deployment models. One framework gives you consistent visibility, protection, and risk control no matter where your AI lives. And third, this gets you from prototype to production faster. Remember those friction points we talked about at the beginning? Compliance delays, governance overhead, data exposure risks, missing audit trails. Purview addresses all of these with automated classification, built-in DLP, and continuous compliance monitoring. The result is that trust becomes an accelerator, not a bottleneck. Your team spends less time navigating approvals and more time shipping great AI. With that, here's my ask. Please go try it. If you're already building in Foundry, Purview is right there waiting for you. Just start exploring the governance controls we demoed today. And if you're building custom apps or agents, or working with third-party frameworks, go grab the SDK and start integrating. Either way, Purview is ready to be your trust layer, and let's ship AI that your organization and your customers can rely on. I'll leave you here with a few resources for you to go try hands-on. And with that, thank you for your attention.